The message appeared on his phone at 2:17 a.m., glowing softly in the darkness like a quiet scream no one else had heard. 6 words. Broken. Terrified. Wrong number or not. The weight of them pressed into his chest instantly. A single dad, half asleep on a couch that had become both his bed and his refuge, stared at the screen as his heart began to race. Somewhere out there, someone was hurting. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he felt like that message had found him for a reason. Before this story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and strangers showing up when it matters most, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that might be breaking right now. Ethan Cole had not planned to be awake at that hour. Life as a single father had trained his body to exist in a constant state of alertness, even when exhaustion weighed down his bones. His 6-year-old son Noah was finally asleep in the small bedroom they shared, one arm wrapped around a worn-out stuffed dinosaur, the other clutching the edge of the blanket as if afraid it might disappear. Ethan's life had narrowed over the past 3 years into careful routines, quiet sacrifices, and a relentless determination to be enough for a child who had already lost too much. Noah's mother had died suddenly, leaving behind grief that never fully faded and a father who learned to cook, clean, comfort nightmares, and hide his own pain behind tired smiles. The phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number, more fragmented this time, more desperate. Ethan's breath caught. He knew what fear felt like. He had seen it in Noah's eyes during thunderstorms, heard it in his own voice when the hospital doctor delivered the news that shattered their family. He had promised himself back then that he would never ignore a cry for help, no matter how small or inconvenient. So he replied, gently, carefully, explaining that she might have the wrong number, but that he was there and listening. What came back wasn't confusion. It was relief, spilling out in short, panicked bursts that painted a picture of a woman trapped in a life that was slowly breaking her. Her name was Lily Harper. She was 28 years old, living in a quiet apartment complex that looked peaceful from the outside and felt like a cage from within. Her partner, someone the world saw as charming and successful, had become controlling, then cruel, then dangerous. The bruises were easy to hide. The fear was not. That night, after another explosion of rage, her hands were shaking so badly that she typed one digit wrong, sending her plea to Ethan instead of the friend she meant to reach. Fate, or something kinder, had intervened. Ethan paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear now as Lily's voice trembled through the speaker. He listened more than he spoke, grounding her with steady words while his mind raced through impossible choices. He was just a single dad with an old car and a heart that had already been cracked open by loss. He had a sleeping child in the next room who depended on him for everything. But he also knew what it meant to be helpless, to wish someone would show up. When Lily said she didn't feel safe staying another minute, Ethan made a decision that scared him more than anything had in years. He told her he was coming. The drive across town felt endless. Streetlights blurred as rain began to fall, streaking the windshield like tears that refused to stop. Ethan's thoughts tangled between fear and resolve. He kept imagining Noah waking up alone, calling for him, and guilt clawed at his chest. But he also imagined Lily's fear turning into silence if he did nothing. He parked 2 blocks away from her building, heart pounding so loudly he was sure it could be heard. Every step toward that address felt heavy, but turning back felt impossible. Lily met him at the side entrance, barefoot, wrapped in a thin sweater despite the cold. Her eyes were red, her face pale, her body carrying the unmistakable tension of someone who had lived too long in survival mode. Ethan didn't ask questions. He didn't need details. He saw the truth written in the way she flinched at distant noises, in the way her hands twisted together as if trying to hold herself together. He guided her to the car, every sense alert, ready to protect someone he had known for less than an hour. Back at his apartment, Ethan set Lily up on the couch while he checked on Noah, who was still asleep, unaware that his father had just altered the course of several lives. The night passed slowly, filled with quiet moments and unspoken understanding. Lily slept for the first time in weeks without fear, her body finally giving in to exhaustion. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, watching the sky lighten, wondering how a wrong number had turned into the right choice. The days that followed were not easy. There were police reports, legal steps, and emotional breakdowns that came without warning. Lily struggled with guilt and shame, emotions Ethan recognized all too well. He never pretended to have all the answers. He simply showed up, again and again, offering stability when everything else felt uncertain. Noah, with the innocent wisdom only children possess, accepted Lily without hesitation, bringing her drawings and asking her to play simple games that reminded her what safety felt like. They's weeks turned into months. Healing began in small, fragile pieces. Lily found the courage to rebuild her life, enrolling in counseling and slowly reclaiming parts of herself she thought were gone forever. Ethan, in helping her, found pieces of himself healing too. The loneliness that had wrapped around his heart since his wife's death loosened its grip. Their connection was not built on romance or grand gestures, but on shared pain, mutual respect, and the quiet strength of choosing kindness when it was hardest. The night that message arrived remained etched in Ethan's memory. He often thought about how easily he could have ignored it, how close Lily had come to being alone at her breaking point. Instead, two strangers had collided in a moment of fear and chosen compassion over comfort. Their lives did not become perfect. They became real, grounded in resilience and hope. If this story has touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that small acts of courage can change everything, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep stories of hope alive. And before the story ends, we ask one special thing from you. Please comment below with a single word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know, because somewhere tonight, someone might be typing a message through tears, hoping it reaches the right person. And sometimes, all it takes to save a life is a phone that lights up in the dark and a heart brave enough to answer. Morning arrived quietly, as if the world itself was careful not to disturb what had begun the night before. Sunlight slipped through the thin curtains of Ethan Cole's apartment, touching the walls that had witnessed grief, exhaustion, and now something unfamiliar, hope. Lily Harper woke slowly on the couch, disoriented at first, then overwhelmed by the realization that she was safe. The fear that had lived in her muscles for years did not vanish overnight, but for the first time, it loosened its grip enough for her to breathe without pain. She listened to the small sounds of the apartment, the hum of an old refrigerator, the faint traffic outside, and the soft laughter of a child drifting from the bedroom. Noah was awake, sitting on the floor with his dinosaur toys, building a crooked city of blocks. Ethan watched him from the kitchen doorway, coffee growing cold in his hands, thinking about how quickly life could change. He had spent years convincing himself that survival was enough, that keeping his head down and focusing only on his son was the safest way forward. But Lily's arrival had cracked open something he had sealed shut, a reminder that helping others did not weaken him, it strengthened him. The days after that night were heavy, filled with appointments, paperwork, and moments when Lily's strength seemed to collapse without warning. Trauma did not leave politely. It resurfaced in flashes, in sudden fear it raised voices on television, in tears that came while washing dishes or tying her shoes. Ethan never rushed her healing. He understood grief too well to demand timelines. He offered consistency instead, meals at the same time, quiet evenings, and a space where she was never questioned or judged. Word eventually reached Lily's family, people she had been too afraid to contact for years. The first phone call was messy and painful, filled with apologies and sobs, but it ended with a plan. Slowly, a support system formed around her, fragile but real. She began therapy, confronting memories she had buried deep just to survive. Each session left her exhausted, but also lighter, as if she was reclaiming pieces of herself one breath at a time. For Ethan, life grew more complicated in unexpected ways. Juggling work, parenting, and supporting Lily stretched him thin. There were nights he sat alone after everyone slept, staring at his phone, wondering if he had taken on more than he could carry. Fear crept in, not of helping Lily, but of failing Noah. Yet every morning, when he saw his son's easy acceptance of Lily, the way Noah's laughter filled the apartment again, Ethan knew he was teaching his child something more important than safety. He was teaching him compassion. The turning point came on an ordinary afternoon. Lily returned from a job interview, hands shaking, eyes bright with cautious excitement. It wasn't a glamorous position, just a small bookstore on the edge of town, but to her it represented independence, dignity, and a future shaped by her own choices. When she received the call confirming she was hired, she cried, not from fear this time, but from relief. Ethan watched from across the room, feeling something shift inside him. He realized that sometimes, saving someone wasn't about heroic acts. It was about standing beside them long enough for them to stand on their own. Months passed, marked by quiet victories. Lily moved into a small apartment of her own, close enough to visit, but far enough to feel like a new beginning. Ethan helped her carry boxes up narrow stairs, noticing how her posture had changed, how she no longer shrank into herself. Noah insisted on giving her one of his dinosaurs for protection, a gesture so pure it left both adults blinking back tears. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. There were setbacks, bad days, moments when old fears resurfaced. But there was also growth. Lily learned to trust again, not just others, but herself. Ethan learned that his heart was capable of expanding without breaking, that loving and helping again did not erase his past. It honored it. One evening, long after Lily had settled into her new life, Ethan scrolled through old messages on his phone and stopped at the first text that started it all. 6 words that had changed everything. He thought about how close he had come to ignoring them, about how many people might still be waiting for someone to answer. He tucked Noah into bed that night with a deeper sense of purpose, knowing that kindness, even when inconvenient, had ripple effects far beyond what we can see. If this story has stayed with you, if it stirred something deep inside your chest, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories of hope reach people who may feel invisible or alone. And just before we end, we have one small but powerful request. Please comment below and tell us if you believe that strangers can become miracles at the right moment. Because sometimes, a wrong number is not a mistake. Sometimes, it is fate quietly asking who you choose to be when no one is watching.